I recently broke up with my boyfriend Mike, and now I'm questioning if I did the right thing. We'd been together for about a year and a half, and honestly, things were great at the start. He's smart, kind, and funny, everything I wanted in a partner. But the problem, or I guess the other love of his life, is his dog, Dingleberry. Now, don't get me wrong, I love dogs. I grew up with them, and I've always been a dog person. So when I met Dingleberry, a 4-year-old golden retriever, I thought it would be fun having him around. At first it was. Dingleberry is energetic, goofy, and sweet. But after a few months, I started to notice that Mike was obsessed with taking Dingleberry everywhere. And I mean everywhere. It started small, taking the dog with us on hikes, to outdoor cafes, or to the beach. No big deal. But then it expanded to basically every outing. Going to a friend's BBQ, Dingleberry comes too. Heading to the park for a picnic, Dingleberry's there. Running errands? Yup, Dingleberry's tagging along in the car. Even on nights where we just wanted to grab a drink or a bite to eat, Mike would insist on finding dog-friendly places. If we couldn't take the dog, we wouldn't go. I brought it up to him a few times, gently at first. I'd suggest we leave Dingleberry at home so we could have some alone time. After all, I wanted a relationship with Mike, not a constant third-wheel situation with his dog. But he'd brush me off, saying things like, "Oh, Dingleberry's a social dog, he hates being left alone," or "He's like my family, I can't just leave him behind." I tried to be understanding, I really did. But it started to feel like everything revolved around Dingleberry, and I was just along for the ride. The tipping point came a couple of weeks ago. Mike and I had been planning a weekend getaway to a nice little cabin a few hours away. I was really looking forward to it. Just the two of us, some time to relax and maybe disconnect from everything for a bit. Well, that's what I thought it would be. 2 days before the trip, Mike casually mentioned that he'd found a dog-friendly cabin so Dingleberry could come with us. I couldn't believe it. I had imagined a romantic weekend, just the two of us, and now the dog was coming along, again? I tried to express how I felt. I told Mike that I wanted this trip to be about us. No distractions, just some quality time together. He looked at me like I had two heads and said, "But Dingleberry's part of our life too. You know how much he loves nature. He'll have a great time." It wasn't just about the trip anymore. It was about how Mike couldn't seem to go anywhere or do anything without his dog. I felt like I was competing for his attention with Dingleberry, and frankly, I was losing. That weekend turned into a bit of a disaster. Dingleberry wasn't well behaved at the cabin. He barked constantly, knocked things over, and was just a general handful. The romantic getaway I'd envisioned ended up being Mike chasing after his dog half the time, and me feeling like an extra. I spent the entire trip frustrated and disconnected from Mike. When we got back, I realized I couldn't take it anymore. I told Mike that I needed more balance in our relationship, that I couldn't keep doing this if Dingleberry was going to dominate every aspect of our lives. Mike didn't take it well. He said I was being unreasonable and selfish, that Dingleberry was part of his life and always would be. He didn't seem to understand why it was a big deal to me. To him, it was normal to take his dog everywhere, and he couldn't see why I couldn't just accept that. That's when I decided to break up with him. I couldn't keep competing with his dog for attention, and I needed more from a relationship than always being the second priority. But now, a part of me is wondering if I overreacted. Was I being selfish? Should I have just tried harder to adapt to their dynamic? Some of my friends have said that I did the right thing and that Mike's attachment to Dingleberry was over the top. Others think I was being too harsh, saying that people's pets are important, and maybe I should have found more dog-friendly activities we could all enjoy. But it didn't feel like a compromise to me. It felt like I was constantly making concessions for Dingleberry, while Mike refused to ever leave him behind. So, am I the asshole for breaking up with my boyfriend because he wants to take his dog everywhere we go? Should I have tried harder to make it work, or was I right to walk away?